How's it going, metalheads, and welcome back to another video. This is a little discussion video I wanted to do just kind of on a whim thing. I saw another video from my buddy Johnny Z, the CD guy. If you guys know him or don't know him, go check out his channel. I'll link him down below. But about a week ago, he did a video on things he hates about CD collecting. And I kind of made a response video to that. And he just did another one about stuff that he hates about vinyl collecting. And I wanted to chime in and give my, take on why I collect CDs versus vinyl. And also cassettes, but mostly vinyl, because, I feel like cassettes is the one that people collect the least, in my opinion. But yeah, I just want to chime in and give my opinions on why I collect CDs versus other formats. And I do have some other formats, I'm a collector, like him, and I do, want some of that kind of stuff. But I feel like one of the biggest reasons I don't collect vinyl is because of the space. CDs are a lot smaller, and he touched on this in his video. CDs are a lot smaller than vinyl, so I can fit more of them in a smaller space, and it's just better, I think. I would have to have a lot more space if I had as many vinyl records as I do CDs. I have like 175, 200 some CDs. If I had that many records, I'd have to have a probably bigger shelf than I already do. But since I collect CDs, I can put them in a smaller space. I think they sound better too. I've played a couple records, at people's houses that have record players that I know. I just think my CDs sound better than that. And also the price. CDs are a lot cheaper than vinyl nowadays, especially nowadays, with the price of everything going up. But vinyl has gotten crazy expensive. And so I can get, when I go to the record store, it's $50 now. I can get, 3 CDs, which isn't a lot, but you might be able to get only one vinyl record for that price. Another thing I don't like about vinyl is the exclusivity. And he touched on this a little bit with all the different variants and, liquid filled vinyl and all that kind of stuff. If you're a collector, like you touched on, like me over here, I have all 3 variants of this Malignant Altar compilation, Retribution of Jealous Gods. I have the black, the green, and the yellow. And, as a collector, that's kind of cool to have them all. But, of the album, which is called Realms of Exclusive Morbidity, there's 8 different vinyl variants. And I'm going to have to get them all eventually if I want to complete the collection. But that's a shitload to collect if you're a collector. And so I feel like the exclusivity of having that many vinyl variants is dumb. When you buy a CD, the only really other versions of CDs you have to buy are ones that have bonus tracks or live material, that kind of stuff. There's not an exclusivity factor to it because it's really hard to do that with CDs. It's really hard to make other colors or all that kind of stuff. And so, I have some of this kind of stuff, like shaped vinyl, which is kind of cool. But even this stuff is kind of dumb because I've heard these aren't very good to play. And so at what point does this just become a wall piece? Like these 2 Benedictions I have, they're really cool stuff. But at what point, and he touched on this, he says he doesn't like it when people frame their vinyl and stuff like that, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But if it doesn't sound good to play, then why not just make a poster of it instead of wasting all this when you could have made another vinyl release of it and use this material? Because now this is just going to sit on my wall, and while it looks cool, I don't really see the point in doing this if it's not going to be played. It doesn't sound as good with all the paint on it, So that's another thing I don't like about vinyl is the exclusivity. Now to touch on framing stuff, I'm okay with framing records in certain scenarios. I think if you're just going to frame your records to put on the wall because the artwork's bigger, just get a poster. You don't have to waste the money on the physical release, that kind of thing. But in the cases of it's a rare record or, it's special to you or something like that, I think it's fine to frame it. I had a relative give me a framed Master of Puppets vinyl. It wasn't a special vinyl, it's just a regular black Master of Puppets vinyl, but he knew I really liked the album. That's my favorite album of all time, so he got me that framed. And so, it was important to me, and I also don't have a record player. I think if you're, a CD collector, a cassette collector, and you want to collect vinyl, and you want to frame something on vinyl just because it's important to you, I feel like that's really okay. And so that's what I did with Master of Puppets. And I also did this with this album that I got gifted to me by somebody. My family, Despised Icon, The Ills of Modern Man. It is a very rare variant. I think it's limited to 100 if I'm not mistaken, and it's like a $150 record on Discogs right now. And since I don't have a record player, and since it's rare and I want to preserve it, I put it in a frame. So I feel like that's a pretty, valid thing to do if you have a rare record like this. And you don't have a way to play it. I feel like a lot of it comes down to having a way to play it. And the reason I don't collect vinyl is because I don't have a way to play it, because I have a CD player instead. But yeah, I just wanted to do this quick little response video to his video and chime in on why I collect CDs versus other variants, or not variants, other media, because I think CDs are the best. for price wise, because cassettes, I'm gonna touch on cassettes for a little bit. Cassettes are, they're probably similar to CDs in price nowadays, maybe a little bit cheaper, but they just don't sound as good, I think. Also, I think CDs sound the best out of all the physical media, and they're really hard to deal with. You don't have to like rewind a CD or anything like that. You just put it back in the case. With cassettes, all this kind of stuff happens, and my parents were around when cassettes were popular, and they told me about all the issues they had with putting it in the car and then it getting all crazy and whatever, all that kind of stuff. So I just think that cassettes are a little bit hard to deal with in terms of, and even vinyl's better than that in the case that like you don't have to put it back in the case and rewind it whenever. You just put it back in the thing and close it up, and and so if you can have that in a smaller format like a CD, that's the best one. So I think CDs sound the best. 1, 2, they're cheaper than vinyl. 3, they're smaller than vinyl, so they're easier to store. And so that's basically the big 3 of why I collect CDs versus other formats. And I was honestly introduced to CDs before anything else too. My dad gave me his old AC/DC CDs. Those are the first ones in my collection, and so I just figured that was the way to go about it. I didn't really know about vinyl yet or know about cassettes yet to an extent, and so I just figured I was just introduced to that early on. But yeah, that's just a little snippet into why I collect CDs versus other formats. And go check out Johnny Z's channel if you haven't already. And with that, hope you're all doing well. Have a nice day. See ya.